What is up? What is up, Fight Hype family? Do we need the official Fight Hype music? I usually have it queued up, but hold on. You know, we wanted to keep it spontaneous to begin from the elaborate, illustrious, high-tech, industrious headquarters here in Las Vegas, Nevada for Fight Hype Live. It is the morning of Benavidez Andrade, a fight that usually in these big fights I wind up over analyzing things, but I haven't really moved too much off of my initial thoughts when we went live after their first presser in LA last month in October. But without further ado, the official Fight Hype Live music is here. What is up? What is up, everybody? What's up, all 9 of you who have already come to join me here on Fight Hype Live? That's it. This is the quickest Fight Hype Live music intro ever, but we are here. It is the morning, the afternoon of Benavidez Andrade. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving weekend. I definitely did. Love spending Thanksgiving with my family. And been covering the Raiders and doing all. We're all the way up to 200 people now. So let's get it. Benavidez Andrade. Let's start a poll real quick, chat. And you guys let me know as we kick off this live who wins. Let's see here. The Mexican Monster or it's me again. Let's see. Alright, so what's up, 3 Pumps? What's up, Enzio? Enzio saying Benavidez by unanimous decision. Unplugged says this will be a great card. Joseph says I love your content. Danny Smith saying, pointing out that Andrade hasn't really fought anyone they know. What time does the fight come on? Asked Big Toe Lilfoot. Pay-per-view card starts at 5 o'clock Pacific time. They're no longer doing 6 o'clock Pacific time. I think that's a good move. I think we're all down with the fights coming on an hour earlier, especially those of you on the East Coast. So when this fight was initially announced, and we'll take a look at some stuff, chat. We'll take a look at, I caught up with Terrence Crawford quickly. We'll take a look at the weigh-in, how both guys looked at their workout and everything. But quickly, you know, I originally picked Benavidez to win this fight. I think that's still my pick today on fight day. And I do think this fight is going to resemble in a lot of ways the Caleb Plant fight, where Andrade will be better off early in the fight and Benavidez will take over the fight as the fight progresses. There's some differences here. Andrade, I think, sits down on his punches a little bit better, especially his backhand, his southpaw left hand versus Caleb Plant's orthodox right hand. Caleb Plant has a very good left hand, has a good left hook and a great jab. And his jab to the body and to the head, he out-jabbed Caleb Plant very nicely in their fight. But he doesn't really have a right hand. He's very left-hand dominant. With his lead hand is Caleb Plant. Boo Boo Andrade has a brick. He has his backhand that he could sit down on with some power, his southpaw left hand. But, you know, it's not a concussive shot. It's a shot that's dropped plenty of 54-pounders and 60-pounders. And I think it could snap Benavidez' head up and get his attention even more than the shots that Caleb Plant was landing in the first 5 or 6 rounds. But I don't think it's going to be enough to keep Benavidez off of him to where he's so weary and respectful of the power that he doesn't apply pressure. And I think Andrade at 35 in his third weight class doesn't have the kind of life in his legs that Caleb Plant had to cover as much ground laterally as Caleb Plant had. But he's a little bit more efficient in his movement. He takes little side steps to the left, to the right, half steps back. He doesn't get up on his bike that much these days. It's more conservative movement, circling his opponent. And I think Andrade could get better work done in the pocket than Plant. Plant had to stay very rangy, keep the fight at long range. And interestingly enough, one thing Benavidez did to do better in that fight was counter the boxer. He began to, because Benavidez has slow feet, and so instead of just continuing to plod forward and sometimes do what Caleb wanted, which is just plod forward, one way he changed that fight, as well as Plant just getting tired, he held his ground and began to counter Plant, who was jumping in with combinations. Plant he would measure behind the jab, but he would start throwing his flurries, his combinations, and kind of jump in with them. And David began to high guard it and catch and shoot, catch, bink, and get and catch and shoot with that left hook pretty good on Caleb Plant, who, as the fight progressed, was jumping in and jumping out. And that's a tightrope act to do for Benavidez. It's a risky thing to do Because if you start trying to counterpunch the boxer and hold your ground instead of walking into shots, the other guy, he's allowed to dictate range, in and out of range. And thankfully for Benavidez, he was able to gauge the range properly and knew when Plant was giving up his distance on the outside and was jumping in to get in his left hook and whatnot. And again, Plant had to do that because when he really wants to run his hands outside of the jab, he doesn't have a great straight right hand that really carries power on it. It's just not his best punch. So behind that jab, he'd have to jump in behind it and kind of, rat-a-tat, throw some combinations. So once he's got, through those combinations, mainly hooks behind that double jab head body from Plant, David could just catch and shoot. So I think that's something he's going to do with Andrade too. I think he's actually going to counterpunch Andrade while holding his ground, catch and shoot as the fight goes on. Because Andrade gets a little wide and fat with his punches as the fight goes on. And he's used to being more athletic and speedier than the other guy to where he could get away with his hands being down. Because he's the more athletic fighter. Part of what makes Benavidez special, and we'll take a look at that in this workout video right here, I think part of what potentially makes Benavidez special, he's got to prove to us he's special and not just merely good or very good, is that he's at that size, at 168 pounds, the kind of speed he generates is part of what makes him special. He's big. He's going to apply pressure. He's got a good punch in both hands. Not a one-punch knockout artist, but a good puncher in both hands. I think what makes Benavidez so formidable is at that size, he has that level of hand speed. And I also think he's got some good upper body reflexes too, even though he struggles sometimes to defend the body with that tall, slender frame. But I actually think that Andrade, who sometimes leaves his chin exposed when he shoots that straight left hand, and then he finishes up, he cleans up with the right hook too. And I don't doubt that he can't get that stuff off. That he could sidestep and sidestep, stay in range, land that straight left hand, and clean up with the right hook. I think Andrade's going to get some good work done in this fight, especially in the first 6 rounds. The problem for him is going to be what's coming back. It's not going to be that offensively he can't get things done. It's not going to be that in the pocket where Benavidez loves to be, he can't get things done. I think he will get things done. It's what's coming back tonight that's going to be the issue for Andrade. He's bulked up. Victor Conte's got him looking bulked up at 168. Memo has David in good shape at 68. David looked rehydrated because it was a ceremonial weigh-in, and he looked hydrated. He looked good. He looked a little more filled out and a little less thin than he did after rehydrating for the Plant fight. And I think he may be in a better mind state than the Plant fight, not just trying to take this guy's head off, but ready to go about it smart and break him down methodically, or we'll see. Maybe Benavidez is better off fighting off that emotion, because I didn't love the hug at the weigh-in yesterday when Benavidez reached Andrade in for a hug. That was a bit much. But outside of that, I've loved what I've seen from Benavidez in this fight. In this week, he just seems very focused. Eye of the tiger. That, as we all know about he's got the eye of the tiger, and I think that him not having as personal a beef with Andrade could help him tonight, because Caleb Plant, with his speed and his movement, took away the range on that jab for Benavidez. He didn't feel comfortable with the jab. But I also think part of it was David reaching for power shots and wanting to take his head off. And I wonder if, with some of that bad blood removed and being a little bit more clinical and technical about his approach, if it'll allow that jab to get off the way it wasn't able to against Plant. And again, I don't think Andrade's covering as much ground as Plant did. So if he's just sidestepping and staying in the pocket a little bit more, that'll be a little bit easier on David to get his jab going. So I think if David could get his jab going, he could stop Andrade around 10 or 11 or 12. And that is my prediction tonight. Now, I don't count Andrade out. Andrade could box his ears off and befuddle him and put on a beautiful performance. And if he does, credit to him. He'll show there's a reason why he was avoided plenty of times in his career, why he's 32-0, why he would be a 2-division champ, an Olympian in 08. This is a good fight. But I just think timing matters in boxing. And Emmanuel Stewart used to say older fighters in their 30s, they can struggle with the energy and the enthusiasm of a young, hungry fighter. And I feel like Andrade's opportunity to win big fights was supposed to be at 160 and 154 with Golovkin, with Munguia, with the Charlo brothers, with Canelo when he was a 54 or 60 pounder, with Arislandi Lara, with Billy Joe Saunders, who he was going to beat back in Boston when DAZN was going to launch, but Billy Joe popped and it never happened. You know, like Danny Garcia's father told Zab Judah once, your time passed, and now it's Danny's time. Andrade's window, he's still very good. He's still undefeated for a reason, but I think that was his window to really become a great champion. And if he does it tonight, all the credit in the world to him, because he's kind of being fed to Benavidez. David Morrell, Benavidez was on the table, but that fight can actually be built up. They're both incredibly young compared to Andrade. Morrell's 24 with 9 fights. Benavidez is 26. So they decided, let's slide in the veteran who doesn't have as much upside going forward in his future. So he's kind of being fed to Benavidez. And then at the same time, this isn't an easy prospect for Benavidez tonight, because if he goes the distance with Andrade, his stock won't really go up. Even though Andrade has never come close to losing, nobody's ever looked good to him. But Benavidez needs a stoppage tonight, or else his stock will basically stay the same as it is after beating Caleb Plant. And if he does go the distance, I think it's going to be because of the same thing as the Caleb Plant fight. He's going to look very ordinary early until his size, his activity, and his combinations begin to take over the fight. But if that's what happens and he can't stop Andrade, there's going to be just as much talk tonight about what Benavidez doesn't do great as, wow, he beat Andrade, and now I can't wait to see Canelo and all that. It'll be a whole... If he doesn't stop Andrade and he gets outboxed early like he did against Plant, more of the talk will just be he's a weight bully, and there'll be just as much talk about his deficiencies as there is his strengths. So it's a tough task for both guys. Andrade, his best weights, maybe his best years have passed him by, and he's got to fight the Mexican monster who's almost 10 years younger than him, who's really a light heavyweight who could be a cruiserweight one day when Andrade's coming up from middleweight. And then for Benavidez, he has to stop a guy that's never come close to losing, hardly loses rounds, and is a smart Olympic southpaw. Those guys are typically the hardest guys to look good against. So it's a good fight. I'm looking forward to it. I'm coming to the arena, excited. I got a quick super chat, and then let's look at some videos from throughout the week. And it's a pretty even poll. About almost 60% of you have Benavidez winning this fight, to 42% saying, it's me again, it's Andrade. So let me check the super chat. My man Hakeem Steele, shout out to his Lakers above 500. Hakeem Steele's with the super chat says, Timothy Bradley was talking about David, saying he was going to match Boo Boo's pace early on, wondering if that'll affect him finishing strong like usual. Hakeem, it won't affect him if Andrade's not putting something on him, because I recall Benavidez in that same arena at the Mandalay Bay in his rematch with Ronald Gavril, he threw about 1,000 punches that night. So it's not, and David tends to get better as the fight progresses. He gets better as the fight progresses. Aggressive fighter who needs some rounds to slow the other guy down, touch his body, and then he becomes like an avalanche. He just gets better and better. It's a snowball effect as the fight goes on. So Andrade, if he's having success early, like Plant did early, he's got to make those shots count. That he loves to throw his straight left hand to the body. He's got to sap something out of David, because that lead hand, that jab to the body from Plant, it was nice, but it wasn't enough to sap some strength out of the big man Benavidez. He's got to touch that body with the straight left hand, and he's got to lift his head up with some real shots that get David's attention. If he's merely just winning rounds, Hakeem, early, but he's not putting anything on David to wear his body down or up top snapping his head around a little bit, then David will be fine starting fast and ending fast, in my opinion. But this is why they fight the fights. We'll see. But let's take a quick look at how David looked. I was very impressed with how David looked in this workout, particularly with his upper body movement and his hand speed. So let me see if I got that right here. Oh, well, you know what, chat? Forgive me. This is him working out already with his pads on. And I want to go ahead and take a quick look at when he was shadow boxing and showing off his head movement. So give me one moment here, chat, and I'll pull that video up. Because apparently I got the video pulled up of him letting his hands go first. So let's see it here. Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, I gotta upgrade to YouTube Red. Gotta stop getting these ads. All right, here we go. Oh, that's not it either. All right, chat. Plan C, because great fighters, as we all know, have a plan A, plan B, plan C. So plan C for your boy. And here it is, my Twitter. I'll just go straight to my Twitter. So check out that upper body movement from David Benavidez. And the hand speed. And the life in his legs right here. Now, of course, the problem with David, you see that nice pivot out at the end. Really nice pivot out at the end. But the problem for David is he doesn't cut off the ring. You know, he doesn't cut off the ring, and that's part of why Plant made him reach with power shots, because his feet are slow, a lot slower than his hands. But that nice pivot out, David actually can move off the back foot well. It's more cutting the ring off, and it seems to me, because Canelo knew how to move off the back foot well before he knew how to cut off the ring off. Apparently, it's easier to move off the back foot than it is to really learn how to corner somebody and cut the ring off. But again, you see the upper body movement of Benavidez. And one big problem for Demetrius Andrade in this fight, chat, he's not the faster guy. He's thought of as the better boxer, but usually when you think the better boxer, there's a speed advantage there of hand and feet, of athleticism, right? The quicker guy on the outside. He ain't the quicker guy. He's got better feet than Benavidez, and that'll be an issue for Benavidez that he'll have to solve, but he doesn't have quicker hands than Benavidez, and that's a problem for the boxer. When the other man is bigger than you, punches harder than you, and has faster hands than you, that's an issue. Let me make sure I'm not missing another. Okay, we're good. Got another super chat, real quick chat. Molly Mall said, "What's up? Does Katie upset Chantel Cameron in the rematch?" I'm not sure. Katie is a great fighter who has that greatness in her. You can't count her out, but she's might be a little long in the tooth. Katie's getting closer to 40 years old. She's that war with Amanda Serrano might have took a little something out of her. She got badly hurt in that fight. And Chantel Cameron applies intelligent pressure. She hasn't made the kind of money Taylor has. Taylor can lose this fight and still make big money back at lightweight. Cameron has to win this fight to keep it going. So she's probably the hungrier fighter. She's the stronger fighter, probably the fresher fighter. And she beat the first time. So Katie's definitely the underdog. But Katie Taylor does have that greatness in her that you can't counter out. She's one of those fighters. So yeah, but I was impressed with David's upper body movement. Let's take a look at Andrade now too, chat. Maybe let me mute this so we don't get copyright. But there you go. You see Andrade not covering the kind of ground Caleb Plant does sometimes. It's just shadow boxing. He's not showing us a whole lot here. But you see throughout this camp, from when this fight got signed all the way here to fight week in Vegas, you see Boo Boo having conservative movement, trying not, because Caleb Plant gassed himself out, moving with excessive movement almost. And Andrade looks like he's trying to be more efficient. You know, take little sides out to his right and keep turning Benavidez, but be in position to sit down and land shots that'll really get the judge's attention, that'll get Benavidez's attention, and allow him to win this fight. And credit to Andrade if that's how he's coming to fight, because he could come to survive and collect a check against a bigger, younger, stronger kid in a fight that he's a 4-1 underdog in. But he's been showing indications that he's coming to fight. You know, he's coming to get his work off in the pocket and get this big kid's respect and pull off the upset. So props to him. And again, right here at this range, working in the pocket, you see Andrade has some good stuff, no doubt about it. You know, he's not just a rangy boxer, slick southpaw. He could get busy in the pocket. And I don't doubt that he's not going to get some good stuff off on David. It's going to be what's coming back. Andrade, you know, the few times he does get hit, hasn't always shown a granite chin. You know, he hasn't really been down, but he hasn't shown a granite chin. But I just think that's where it's going to be an issue, is the receiving end. And Benavidez is an excellent offensive fighter. In my opinion, one of the best offensive fighters in boxing, who throwing combinations comes natural to him. And against slick defensive fighters like Andrade, you need to be a good combination puncher because one or two, usually they're going to get out of the way of that, block it, slip it, something. But if you could follow up with 3, 4, and 5, and if you could take his legs away as the fight progresses to where he can't just back out of range to make you fall short, he's got to block and defend and slip every 4 or 5 of those shots, they're eventually going to start getting in. And that's what I think will happen in this fight. So yeah, Andrade working in the pocket more, a little bit more conservative, efficient movement. And let's take a look at the weigh-in right now where Andrade looked big. Terrence Crawford was there, bossing up. We'll get to the quick Terrence Crawford. Ask Terrence Crawford about Jaron Ennis. I had to. I can't be on these lives talking about how bad I wish Terrence and Boots would fight and then not ask Bud when I see him about it. So.
All right, fans, here we go. 12 rounds.
I'm going to get to everybody's questions, too. Just want to get through some of this weigh-in footage and some videos from this week. What's up, Nelson Taylor? Love you, brother. Shout out to you and Brendan.
The acclaimed southpaw with a record of 32 wins, no losses, 19 wins coming by way of knockout.
So Benavidez here, to my eyes, he's never going to be the most ripped guy on fight night, but to my eyes, he looked a little more filled out and comfortable because this is him already being a bit rehydrated hours after the real weigh-in, which happened 11 in the morning. This is just ceremonial stuff for our cameras now. But chat, what do you think? Am I tripping? Benavidez looks a little bit healthier and filled out. He told me, who knows? But he told me, yeah, let me mute the weigh-in too. He told me a few months after the Plant fight that he had some pizza sent to his room. I try to warn you about that pizza, David. He got pizza sent to his room, and kind of like the Michael Jordan thing, where Michael Jordan got bad pizza sent to his room the night before the Utah Jazz game, the flu game, and that's what gave him the flu. So David said he was only able to rehydrate to 174, and not really rehydrate to 180 plus, where he was strong because he was puking the night before the Caleb Plant fight. He said that in an interview here on Fight Hype with me back in June. Said he was puking up, didn't feel good, couldn't really rehydrate to his full strength. But I don't know how much of that is just fighter talk and excuses and whatever. But that's what David told me. But the problem for David is in certain fights like Romero, Alexis Angulo, just to name one, sometimes David doesn't rehydrate that well because he might really be a light heavyweight boiling down to super middleweight, and he looks too thin and doesn't look like he rehydrates to be fully strong. And that's some of the things people think Canelo can knock him out to the body. But here, he looks more filled out, like he rehydrated better than he did for the Plant fight. So, but maybe that's just me, chat. What do you think? So there was Benavidez, and then Andrade hulked up, and muscles look good. Shout out to the snack program, but muscles look good. But he's in good shape. But I do think, is he a little too thick? Is he a little too muscular? Because he's you're at your best being a little bit more on the thin side and staying as nimble as possible. But for Andrade, actually looking at this right now, chat, it lends more credence to the fact that Andrade is going to fight in the pocket more than people might expect tonight. Because he bulked up to be strong rather than to take the kind of physique that would allow him to move for 12 rounds. The physique tells you he prepared for war. So Andrade looks good, but he's very muscular, looks in great shape, but still to me, those muscles are a little blown up. He's still a little bit of a blown up middleweight, and he's not carrying that weight. He had to bulk up to get up to this kind of frame at 168. I wonder if that slows him down a little bit, but it looks to me like Boo Boo made a conscientious decision to carry this kind of frame because he knows he can't just try to do what Caleb Plant did for 12 rounds. He's going to have to stand and fight in the pocket intelligently, giving angles, stepping off to the right, stepping off to the left, but he's going to have to fight, and this frame gives him a better chance to do that. So, Andrade in great shape. Benavidez in great shape in back-to-back fights where he's in much better shape than he was earlier in his career. And again, he looks hydrated to me and healthy and filled out now. And this was just a couple hours after the fight, or after the real weigh-in. So Some people saying hell no, Boo Boo's healthier at 68. Classy Nasty says bulky to get on the inside. Yeah, I agree. He looks like he knows at 35 years old, if Caleb, he's gonna gas out if he tries to just move laterally excessively all night and box a perfect fight. He knows he's gonna have to hold his own in the pocket somewhat. And Benavidez not with the kind of what's interesting about Benavidez is he gets bigger in the ring. Here at the face-off, he's not really that much taller than Andrade. I guarantee you, once they get in the ring tonight, Benavidez will look like the bigger man. I didn't love this from Benavidez. He goes from the crazy stare, I'm going to kill the death stare, the Charles Manson glare, to, okay, I love you, buddy, and let's hug. But, hey, it is what it is. I could hear David being mad at me right now because he's saying, well, Sean, bro, fuck, bro, first you tell me for Caleb Plant, I'm too fucking angry, I want to take his head off, I'm not using my jab enough. Now you tell me I'm being too fucking nice, trying to keep my cool and hug him. Fuck, bro, what the fuck do you want from me? That's why you never boxed before. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I love David, but I could see him saying that because, but chat, isn't there a happy middle ground here? Is there not some perfect balance between rah, I'm gonna kill him, I'm gonna take his head off, bad blood, and it's all good, bro, let's hug at the weigh-in? There's gotta be some happy medium there, no? But regardless of it, outside of that, I liked what I've seen from Benavidez in the lead up to this fight, and I think that a little less of that rah is going to be good for him because I think he'll be using more of his intelligent boxing brain, and he's got a great offensive arsenal. Make the most of it. Get that jab going. If you get that jab going against Boo Boo, instead of the Plant fight where you're trying to take his head off with the power shots early, if you start with that jab and can establish it, everything's going to come after it, and you could stop Andrade. And so I think he can do that because I think Andrade is going to stay in the pocket more. I think Andrade's going to land harder shots in the pocket than Plant did. But I also think because he's going to be in that pocket, David will eventually get the stoppage. As long as Kenny Bayless doesn't come flying in like he did for the Plant fight with that Marvel vs. Capcom assist. Or if you guys play the new Mortal Kombat 1, they got cameos with a K because it's Mortal Kombat with a K. And they got cameos where, the two people are getting busy and then someone calls in the assist. They call in the cameo. Kenny Bayless in the Plant fight, he was that Marvel vs. Capcom 2, that Mortal Kombat cameo, that Dragon Ball FighterZ C assist to go really obscure. He was that. So barring that, unless Boo Boos get some of that going, if Benavidez could get his jab going, he could stop Andrade late in the fight. But again, this is why they fight the fights. If Andrade boxes a masterpiece in a fight he's not really supposed to win, in a weight class that's not really his best at 35 years old, then that just shows you Boo Boo Andrade, the undefeated Olympian, was really that guy all along. And there was a reason no one wanted to fight him. He may have made some poor business decisions, but it's hard not to in this sport where everyone's trying to fuck you. So there was the weigh-in. Now, let me get quickly to a quick super chat here. I gotta address it. Now we're at almost 1,000 people, so clearly everyone is excited for tonight's fight. That's awesome. Stephen Smith, let me get right to your super chat, brother. And Stephen Smith got 2 of them, so I gotta get to 2 of them. Stephen Smith hitting me with the super chat, says Garcia versus Lamont, break this one down. I just think Garcia wins. I think Garcia is a better boxer than Lamont Roach. I think Roach, good fighter, lost to Jamel Herring in his only loss. Happy to see him get an opportunity. He was with Golden Boy. I watched him on plenty of Golden Boy cards early in his career. Good fighter. He thinks he's the better puncher than Hector, but I think Hector's the better boxer than him. Lamont told us in the scrum that Hector Garcia is a quitter, and I asked him, do you have to make it a fight to get him there to where he does want to quit and not have it be a boxing match? And he said, yeah, I want to be smart. I am a boxer myself, but yes, he got what I was saying. Yeah, I got to push him to that place. And the only way you do that is by making it physical. So, but I don't think he's going to be able to make it that kind of fight. I think Garcia will be able to box on the outside and be a step ahead of Lamont Roach. Because I think Hector's just got a little bit more skills. He's got a little bit more setups, a little bit more counter punching, a little bit better distance control. So yeah, I think Lamont's a little bit more basic in his boxing skills compared to Hector. But Lamont is hungry. He wants it. Hector last time seen, he did fold against Gervonta, didn't come out for the 8th or 9th round. But that's Gervonta. Gervonta's one of the best. So we want to see Gervonta fight the other best, Devin Shakur, but he himself is one of the best. So not a huge knock on Hector for getting stopped by Davis. And then another super chat from Steven Smith says, Michelle Ali Rivera versus Sergey Lipinets. Who wins and how? Everyone's picking Lipinets. Everyone's picking Lipinets because unlike Rivera, he's been a champion. Unlike Rivera, he's fought at 140 and Rivera's a lightweight. Rivera, last time we saw him, he got dominated by Frank Martin, who wound up having a much tougher fight against Artem Harutyunyan. Much tougher fight than he had with Michelle Rivera. Despite all that, I don't know. I think Rivera can win this fight. Lipinets is old. He's the natural 140 pounder, but he's small. He's not a big guy. He's not a tall guy. Rivera is actually going to wind up being the bigger guy, even though he's coming up in weight. So Rivera's the bigger guy. He's the younger guy. Lipinets does his best work in the pocket, and Rivera's not probably going to stay there a whole lot. He's going to look to move a lot. But then again, Lipinets can punch, and Rivera looked terrible his last fight. But I don't. You know what, Steven Smith? I'll go out on a limb. I'll actually give the edge to Rivera with his youthful legs, coming up in weight where he might be comfortable. And Lipinets has been around for a while, taking some tough losses, like the Boots Ennis fight. Had to take something out of him. So I'll actually give the edge to Rivera in a slight upset. So we'll see. Brum Oska, I gotta quickly get Brum Oska said, this fight is giving me Lomachenko versus Haney vibes. David's weight cut could come to affect him, as well as Andrade looked excited at the weigh-in. Yeah, thank you always, Brum Oska, brother, for your thoughts. It might happen, man. It might happen. David is flirting with that danger of continuing to get down to 68. I thought for a while he would rehydrate and look even better at 75. But when you're in your early to mid 20s, you can squeeze out some tough weight cuts. And he's 26. He's starting to get, once you even get to 28, 29, it's really playing with fire. David's still at the age 26 where he may be able to get away with it, but I wonder if that's part of why Canelo Alvarez continues to put that fight off, because he knows every fight it's a roll of the dice for David at 6'2", getting all the way down to 68. So we'll see. That could be the case. That would definitely help Andrade's chances if Benavidez isn't himself from a weight cut. But I think he'll be all right. David looked bad. He looked drained, said School of Skills. Memo Heredia working with Team Benavidez. Shaking my head, says School of Skills. And Victor Conti on the Boo Boo Andrade sign. So, okay, so basically most of your elite fighters, regardless of nationality and weight class, probably whether it's Victor Conti, whether it's Memo Heredia, back in the day, whether it was Alex Ariza, let's not use most, but plenty of them have, strength and conditioning coaches with, questionable backgrounds. That's just part of the course in boxing because they can't really get access to athletes in other sports after their convictions, but boxing, the wild, wild west, laissez-faire, part of what we love about it, and so they're here. But I don't think any of that will be an issue. I just think the best man will win tonight. Not anything to do with that. But my man Nelson Taylor said Matias will win a very tough fight tonight. That's probably a fair pick. That's a fair pick, Nelson. That fight could go either way. I'm excited for that Ergashev-Matias fight. Ergashev's got Sugar Hill Stewart in his corner. He's got that Eastern European, I think he's from Uzbekistan. He's got that Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Russian, Ukrainian style, standing high up, busy with the lead hand. They love that bend feint. They love to keep their distance, keep you on the end of their punches. But Sugar Hill Stewart helps improve him, brings another element to his rhythm, to his slickness, brings some of that American style to him. Ergashev might take Matias' title. Matias is really, really fun to watch. He's a badass. He is a knockout artist who's not a one-punch knockout artist. He's an accumulation puncher. And funny enough, Matias is a knockout artist who throws arm punches. He often just, works his hands, and he doesn't even, he's not like Canelo sitting and putting his lower half, his weight, his legs on every shot. Matias will stay in the pocket, try to catch and shoot, and just work his arm with arm punches. And since he's heavy-handed, the power's there in the heavy hands. He doesn't even need to always sit down on everything. He'll pick his spots. He'll, in his own way, kind of like what Lomachenko does, tap, boom, and he'll do that too. But for the most part, Matias is throwing arm punches, and he's not that defensively responsible. He has a very leaky defense, and that's part of why, as fun as he is to watch, I've never quite been as high on Matias as other people. I like him. He's a world champion, but he's one-sided fighter. He doesn't have a good defense. Now, to be fair to him, when you're throwing nonstop combinations, all-out offense, you're going to get hit more than someone who's defense first, even if you do have a good defense. And I recognize that Matias catches and shoots in the pocket well. But if Ergashev doesn't just get caught in a war in the pocket, if he gets caught up in a war in the pocket, he's going to lose. It's like Nelson Taylor said in the chat, he's going to lose a very competitive fight. But if Ergashev can now he's going to get suckered into a war because it looks like he wants to go to war. But if he could keep his head on straight during the war and at times keep his distance from Matias, keep him on the end of the power, and then when he is exchanging in the pocket, take advantage of that leaky defense and land big shots in between Matias's shots, in between Matias's combinations, then I think Ergashev can win that fight. But that's going to be a war. That's going to be a war for the hardcore heads. And let me take a look let's quickly also take a look, chat, at Jermall Charlo. Jermall Charlo came in soft, and let's talk about Charlo for a minute. A lot of people are starting to say, and they're right, it's concerning what we're seeing from Jermall Charlo. It's been concerning for 2.5 years. It looks like, I hate putting this on another man, but it looks like there may be substance problems that have been going on the last couple years, whether it's drinking or maybe whatever else. We know that's pure speculation, but definitely we know alcohol. He's been drunk at some big fights, and his speech, not that he's slurring. Guy's never even lost a fight, hasn't even taken punishment. It's not like he's punchy or anything like that, but something about his speech, his demeanor is off. His whole energy is off. It's not the young, voracious, boisterous Jermall Charlo we were used to in his late 20s. This is something different. This is a more subdued and you worry about partly broken man right now in Jermall Charlo. And it just feels odd to have this discussion about Jermall Charlo when he's still undefeated and he's only 32 or 33 years old. Never lost a fight. But there's some concern for him. He's a big favorite tonight, as he should be. This is in many ways a garbage fight because it's two guys who may not be very well. We know Benavidez, with the leg, but Benavidez is really a welterweight who had two unimpressive fights at junior middleweight, 154. He had a draw with a fighter I can't remember right now, who I think was from Spain, on the co-main event of Benavidez and Lemieux in Arizona. He had a draw with a guy most of us can't remember or heard of. And then he got blown out by Danny Garcia, who himself, like Jose, is a blown-up welterweight, who, like Jose, fights very rarely these days in his career. And he got dominated by Danny Garcia. So you got a blown-up welterweight fighting at super middleweight against a middleweight, really a super middleweight now, in Jermall Charlo, who hasn't fought in 2.5 years, against a guy who hasn't won a fight. I can't remember off top the last fight Jose won. I know he hasn't won. I know in his last two fights in November of 2021 and in July of 2022 he didn't get a win. So it's been at least 2 years since he's won a professional fight. So it's a rough fight from the outset. Then you get Jermall Charlo missing weight by 3 pounds, then coming in even heavier by 0.2 for his second weigh-in, and you couple that with his demeanor, his speech, his energy in the last several months, and then in LA Tuesday he said, I've only trained 3 weeks for this fight. And there's just genuine concern about Jermall Charlo getting in a boxing ring for let alone against whoever's standing across. Normally, there'd be no concern for Jermall Charlo, even with 2.5 years out of the ring. He's fighting Jose Benavidez. He's fighting a guy whose best days are behind him, and we're at 147 and 140, so he'll be fine. But I don't know if he'll be fine, because he just seems off at his workout. Now, the one bright side for him, at his workout here in Vegas, he did look light on his feet. He looked light on his feet, loose, was showing some shoulder roll angles, and jab still looked on point. Showed glimpses of the Jermall Charlo we're used to. But outside of that workout, there's almost some red flags heading into this fight. And another one reared its head at the weigh-in when Jermall Charlo brought in the softest body. And I know, cut him some slack. He hasn't fought in 2.5 years. He's not going to quite be in the shape he was. But Jose Benavidez looked in better shape than him. So let's take a look here. This is the softest. This is the softest body I've ever seen Jermall Charlo bring up on a scale, and we'll even compare it to his prime, how he looked on the scale. Benavidez in good shape. Benavidez always was a big guy at 6 feet tall, boiling down to those weight classes, so maybe he really is going to pull off this upset just for this mere fact that he's actually ready to fight mentally. Is Charlo? I don't know. I still expect Charlo to win this fight, but there's just concern of him getting into a boxing ring. Forget about who's it against, just him getting into a professional boxing ring tonight, period. Part of me doesn't exactly know what to expect. Look at that frame. That is the least muscular, softest frame by far of Jermall Charlo's career. And look at his energy, no blonde, fiery tips like in his 20s, no six-pack. But a disheveled-looking Jermall Charlo with the softest body we've seen from him yet. And I really, really have been high on Jermall Charlo. When he was in his 20s, I thought this was a guy that could potentially beat Canelo or Golovkin one day. And after he knocked out J-Rock, his career stagnated a little bit too much. But let's see. I want to compare how. You know what? Let's leave that up there, right there. Charlo, Derevianchenko weigh-in. We had that here on Fight Hype some years ago. Here it is. Shout out to whoever was there in the bubble for us. My Showtime might have just gave us the footage, though. All right, let's take a look. And no copyright music. So compare how he looked there to a prime Jermall Charlo. In great shape. Great shape. And, got the blonde tips, right? Got the fiery blonde tips, got the six-pack and everything. Prime Jermall Charlo. Looking ready to fight. Lean, mean fighting machine at 160 pounds. So compare that with this guy, and it's different. And it's different, just from one more look. So a little rough to watch. And I got a super chat I got to get to, but I remember watching Jermall Charlo. This might have been 2014, at the latest 2015. He fought at the Cosmo, or was it the Hard Rock? It was either the Cosmo or the Hard Rock. I'm going to say the Hard Rock, which is now the Virgin Hotel in Vegas. He fought on an undercard, and I remember watching him ringside, telling someone next to me, look at this guy. He's a monster. He's a monster. How's he get down to 150? It was 154 at the time. I said, how's this guy get down to 54? He's huge. And then he had this bazooka shotgun jab that he was landing that night. And then as his career progressed, I saw he was a good athlete. He was an explosive, athletic fighter. And the J-Rock, when he caught and shoot with the right uppercut, when he did that beautiful catch right uppercut counter against J-Rock, who was undefeated and had great skills himself at the time, I said, all right, he's got a punishing jab. He's big and strong and athletic, and he's defensively responsible, and now he's shown he can counterpunch. I think this guy can beat Canelo or Golovkin soon. Not right then, because hot off a J-Rock fight, he still needed to go up to 60 and fight some real contenders there to get acclimated, to be ready for that kind of assignment, which never happened. But I thought at the time, at his size, with his skill set and jab and athleticism and power and reach, and then when he showed he had some great sophistication with the counterpunching J-Rock, who went on to become the champ at that division years later, I thought, you know what? Gennady Golovkin's getting older. Canelo's only 5'8". This guy's 6 feet tall. I think this guy is the dark horse at middleweight. He could beat both of them. That was a long time ago. And, for Jermall's sake, and even just because I like to see fighters get the most out of potential, I hope that his prime wasn't wasted. I asked him that. I said, "Do you any concern that your best years were wasted the last couple years?" And he said, "No, not of course." Even that response is different. That's the new subdued Jermall Charlo. Before he'd bite my head off for asking some shit like that. But so we'll see. I'm a little concerned for him, and yet while I'm concerned for him even getting in a boxing ring, I still expect him to win because even being half of what he was, or 60 or 70% of what he was, he still would have a punishing jab, still can punch hard, and is still so much naturally bigger than Jose Benavidez. But Jose Benavidez mentally looks much more engaged and fired up for this fight, and just has more energy heading into this fight. So we'll see. It's a very interesting fight in terms of we don't know what we're going to get from Jermall Charlo. It's in many ways a bad fight. It's a sad fight for one guy who should have been stripped a while ago at middleweight, didn't even come close to making weight, fighting a guy who hasn't won a fight in years in Benavidez, who's really a welterweight, blowing all the way up to super middleweight. His dad doesn't even really want him to take the fight, but of course he's going to take the fight because he's got to get paid. And now he's going to get paid even more, about $250,000 more. So there you have it. Let me get to this super chat from DJ Curtis. Curtis saying, thank you, brother, for the $20. Said, start a campaign to help the fighters and sport of boxing as a whole by asking fans to post a pic of their verified purchase of the fight that the buying customer wants to see. PPPPP view, post proof of purchase pay-per-view. DJ Curtis, what do you, thank you so much for the super chat, but I'm not sure what your idea, the full scope of your idea, ask fans to post a picture of their verified purchase of the fights that the buying customer wants to see. So you're saying when it's a shitty pay-per-view that most people didn't want to buy, don't post the receipt to further enable shitty pay-per-views that people don't want to buy, and when it's the good ones that people actually wanted to see, like Crawford Spence or maybe this fight, I don't know. Some people feel like this isn't a pay-per-view. Some people feel like this should really be a Showtime Championship boxing main event, or in the glory days of HBO, this would be a HBO World Championship boxing main event level fight, not quite pay-per-view. But it sounds to me, DJ Curtis, you're saying when we get the fights that we actually want, post proof of purchase, to incentivize the real fights, the big fights we want to see being put available for purchase, but actually being made so we can make it happen. I think that's what DJ Curtis was getting at. But thank you, Curtis. Curtis! Thank you. Jose won against Slandan Janjanan. Oh, great name, Jairo Galvez. Thank you for the clutch research. Was Jermall at the weigh-in? He was not at the weigh-in, Molly Mall. He was not. You know what? While we're at it, let's go to All Reliable. Jairo Galvez is probably right, but what was the last fight Jose Benavidez won? This is stuff I used to have off the top of my head. Now I got kids, and you are correct. He did beat Slandan Janjanan. All right, so here I am talking out my ass the whole time but against an overmatched fighter. But he got to win. He got to win. The last time I remember seeing him, Jesus, I didn't see. You got to forgive me, chat. He didn't fight for 3 years after the Crawford fight. I was at that fight ringside, covered it in Nebraska. And then Francisco Torres, that's right. And Torres, he was from Spain, right? No, he's from Argentina. Couldn't even get that he was from Spain. But he had a draw with Torres. I was there. And then he lost. I mean, the scorecards aren't lopsided, but that was a lopsided fight. There was no way it was 114-114, but he did get a knockout against John Janine. So there you go. My fault, chat. My fault. Shows what I know right now. So yeah, he did pick up a dub against, guy with 16 L's, but he did his thing, got to win. Good for Jose coming into this fight. Maybe Jose, I got to rectify, Mr. Shan. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I always have a pretty good chat to correct me on these things. You got to forgive me, chat. I don't even know if that fight was televised, and at least I was right about the 2 fights previous. But he did not fight for 3 years after Crawford. He left it all. I think post the shooting that, cost Jose the mobility in one of his legs, I actually think Jose with his head on right was a phenom, was going to be a star in boxing. He would be, up till today, one of the stars of the sport if, some choices in his life would have been better. We've all made bad choices. I made some terrible ones, so I don't mean to come down on Jose, but I say it more as a compliment that he had it. He had it. Go watch his sparring sessions with Pacquiao when he was 17. The length, the speed, the balls. He was a tough, fiery kid. He had it. Although before the injury, a lot of people thought he got a gift against Mauricio Herrera. But he underestimated Herrera, and again, that's part of what I mean. His mind right. He was overconfident. He thought he was the shit before he proved it. But I think for the most part, whatever Jose really had left, he left it in the ring against Terence Crawford. That's part of why he was one of Crawford's most competitive fights. He had the length and the speed to match Crawford at almost 6 feet tall with long arms, 74-inch reach, just like Terence has a 74-inch reach. Can switch southpaw or orthodox just like Terence. That wasn't a fluke. That wasn't Terence growing into welterweight. That wasn't Terence taking him lightly. That was Jose Benavidez. Always had great talent, and whatever he had left after some bad choices that led to the shooting, and he left it in the ring that night against Crawford because Jose, since that fight, in that draw with Torres and in that fight with Danny Garcia, has looked bad. He hasn't looked like the guy that fought Terence Crawford. No. So yeah. But Molly Mall did not see Jermall Charlo out there. Did not see him. So Alicia suing people, so be careful. Well, she's claiming she'll sue Ryan O'Hara, but we'll see about all that. Who knows? Not talking about it because, like you said, she might be trying to sue people. So I'm straight. But what do I think of Alicia saying she's innocent? It's not up to you to clear yourself. Come on now, chat. Come on now. You can't. That's up to an external force beyond yourself, a legitimate third party to exonerate yourself. You don't do it for yourself. So that's not going to clear up everything like she probably wants it to. But I really like before that those positive tests came out. I thought she was the second best fighter in the world behind Clarissa Shields pound for pound, and she even does some things better than Clarissa Shields. She has more of a slowed down professional style and pace, and she's better at setting traps, I think, than Clarissa. But Clarissa's by far the best, just because her hand speed and combinations, defense, conditioning, all that. She's the best. But now Alicia, it's up in the air. How much of it was those substances she tested positive for? Because it wasn't really surprising when the news came out because of the kind of tremendous physique she has and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, it's not that surprising. But up until that positive test, I was singing her praises as the second best fighter pound for pound. I'm not dogpiling on her because if in fact she was taking performance enhancing drugs, I think she's far from alone in this sport and in elite level sports, period. So she may have fought some fighters that were on something too, so I don't know, but that's that. So Sean, who's your favorite prospect or prospects right now? I actually think Floyd has some good prospects with Kermel Moulton and Robert Merriweather. I like Jermall Harvey. Jermall Harvey might be my favorite prospect. He'll be representing the United States in 2024 at the Olympics. I think Jermall Harvey will definitely be a world champion. And when I hear certain fighters, champions, talk about sparring Jermall, it sounds encouraging. Because the champions I talk to, I won't name names, but they're quick when you ask them about a fighter, did you spar so-and-so? Yeah, and get a smile on their face and give you some kind of indication that they did well. When I asked about Jermall Harvey, it got more of a negative response, which tells me that those fighters struggled with him in sparring. So I think Jermall Harvey will be really good. Jermall Harvey, he's got some Terence Crawford in him, in that he's not going to have this big, boisterous personality. For guys like me, he'll be hard to get quotes out of, but he could fucking fight. He could really fight. He's very skilled, and he punches hard. regardless if he's able, because the amateurs is a different beast than the pros in terms of how you win fights in the amateurs, different type of style required. So it remains to be seen if he's going to win a gold medal for us in 2024, but I have no doubts Jermall Harvey will be a world champion in the pros. Abdullah Mason, absolutely, Abdullah Mason. Emiliano Vargas is a tremendous star on the rise. I think he's going to become a star, maybe superstar, good-looking kid, super fast hands, flashy, fun style. One question I have for Emiliano, though, when he fought on the same card as Abdullah last Thursday, he looked better than Abdullah, even though I've originally thought Abdullah is going to be the tougher fighter to beat long-term in their careers. But fighting back-to-back, one after the other last Thursday, Emiliano was more spectacular than Abdullah. His hands were faster. He got rid of his opponent quicker. So that great stuff, Emiliano. But one thing I will keep an eye on with Emiliano when he fights better competition is he going to be a fighter that put him and Abdullah Mason against an average-looking opponent? Emiliano's going to look better every time. He's going to pull out more flash. He's going to have more moves. His hand speed is going to be that much more impressive. But put him up against championship-level fighters. Is he fundamentally sound enough? Beyond some of his tricks and his speed, is he fundamentally sound enough to beat the best fighters? Because I think Abdullah Mason, he is... it's tough to say. That's just a question. Forget Abdullah for a minute. Just talking about Emiliano. That's a question I have for him. Is one, some of his tricks, some of his flashy, and I don't say tricks in a demeaning way. Tricks are sophisticated. Floyd Mayweather called them special effects, right? Floyd said some guys are straight up and down, no special effects. But you need to be straight up and down with the special effects. You can't be a bag of tricks and fast hands like Naseem Hamed. Became undisputed with a bag of tricks, fast hands, great power, but wasn't fundamentally sound. And once he ran into Barrera, that was a problem. So that is a question I have for Emiliano. He's going to fly right to a world title because it's the 4-belt era. If you have a lot of talent, you could get to a belt no problem in your early 20s. Like Shakur did, like Tio did, like Devin did, like, so many countless fights. De La Hoya against Jimmy Breedall did. So I have no doubt that Emiliano, he's going to get to a world title. But when he fights the best, when he steps up years down the road, will he be fundamentally sound enough on top of all his flash and talent to beat those guys? But we're a long way away from that. So, but I definitely like him. What do I think about Diego Pacheco? I like Diego. Not fully sold that he's going to become the future of those divisions, but I really like him. I got to see how he's still got that thin frame. I got to see how he holds up in the pocket with a physical good puncher. I just got to see some more from Diego, but I love him as a kid. Great kid from South Central LA. Great kid. And yeah, tall, good puncher. So, but I just got to see more. But I definitely like Diego Pacheco. And to be quite honest, I was busy flying out to Miami to cover the Raider-Dolphin game. I didn't get a chance to see the Caceres fight just yet. Had to come home, get right into this fight week. Got Thanksgiving with family over. Got my little son to take to pumpkin patches and all. Even though I didn't take him to the pumpkin patch, but you get the point. Got places. I took him to see Elf last night. So we got to catch up on the Caceres Pacheco highlights and the full fight. Forget just the highlights. What's up, Red? Red says, Sean, what's up? Let me just shout out some people who've been in the chat now that we've pretty much gone through most of what we had to say today. Because I got to leave in a little bit. Put something a little bit better on and get going to the Mandalay Bay tonight to cover the fight. So, let's see. Damon White, Damon Delgado, JK Production, my man Tay Day, as always. Great to see you. Arturo Garcia, Glenn Chaos. Hey, much love, Glenn Chaos. You gave a lot of love to always supporting me during these breaks, so I really appreciate that. Of course, Nelson Taylor, a.k.a. Too Short. Great to see you, brother. Love you and Brendan. Taco King, 123, quotes Tank Davis. Fuck fight hype, quote Tank Davis. Go ahead, Taco King, get your shine on. Let's see, who else was in here? Jairo Galvez, thank you again for the earlier correction on Jose Benavidez. Oh, yeah, that's right, chat. One more thing before we get out of here, right? Get a haircut, you hippie, says Taco King. So Taco King wasn't satisfied with the fucked. He wasn't satisfied that it didn't anger me. So now he touched on my beautiful head of hair, calling me a hippie. It's okay, brother. I'm still not mad, Taco King 123. I'm gonna give you 3 strikes here. I'm gonna give you one more time to try to irritate me a little bit, because the hair and the fuck you from Tank thing, it didn't land. I still feel kind of happy to cover the fight tonight ringside, like I bet you wish you could. So I need you to try one more time, Taco King 123. One more time. But before we let Taco King, it's or without you, like a star, I'm going to shine. Got you. All right. Well, that was strike 3. I don't think that was your 3rd attempt. I'll give you one more, and then you could just enjoy your day. But chat, when I see, so I felt kind of bad, chat. Felt kind of bad, because last time I saw Terrence, last Wednesday at Shakur's weigh-in for the De Los Santos fight, Terrence scrummed it up and Declan Warrington from the UK. He was Johnny on the spot. We were in a scrum and he asked Terrence a line of questionings for about 5 minutes and he was cooking. So I gotta, sometimes you gotta let someone else shoot the rock. Let him continue his line of questions. He asked Terrence about boots, and Terrence wound up covering all bases as it regards the boots. I'm in a different place. I'm more focused on big fights. Charlo or Canelo, I'm more focused on that. I understand how Boots feels. I've been there before, yada, yada, yada. So he pretty much covered all bases. So by the time Terrence got to me, I'm like, well, he already answered all the Boots stuff. Let me ask him about Canelo. So I wound up asking him about the Canelo fight and if he could withstand Canelo's power and how could he do that moving up, and is it a matter of you could withstand the power, or it's not, the power's not going to come into play because he won't touch you. And Terrence said, no, he'll touch me. He's a good fighter. It's just I think I could beat him. So I think I could take the power. I think I could take whatever it requires to beat him. But I wound up leaving the scrum feeling kind of shitty because I go on my lives and I tell you guys how much I'd love to see Bud and Boots fight. And I didn't ask Bud about Boots when I saw him. So once I saw Bud, I said, I'm not gonna get out of this horrible paparazzi chase that I'm a part of. That is probably a little demeaning to me. I'm not gonna get out of here without asking about Boots. So I did, chat. I did.
Man, that'd be lovely. I definitely be lovely. It's good with Terrence, what you think, man? They're like, well, you kind of say the same stuff about Jerron that Errol used to say about you, why the fight couldn't happen, No, man, listen, man. Like I said, man.
He winds up telling me the same thing he said last week, but I had to ask it for my own conscience.
He in one place, I'm in another. Yep. You know what I mean? I'm looking for mega fights right now. And right now, that's not a mega fight. So, you know what I mean? That's my standpoint on it. I'm looking to fight guys like Canelo. That's pretty much it, man. And a rematch with Spence. That's it. That's over with for me.
That's it. That's over. So it sounds like he just wants to do the Spence rematch and then fight Canelo and retire. Fair enough, Terrence. I had to ask him in person. Had to keep the same energy. So I asked him. You're sounding a little bit like Errol did about you. Why he can't get this fight now? Terrence could have. He answered the question very well. Fair enough. And he could have even went a step further and reminded everyone, including me, and that I don't need to be reminded, but he could have reminded everyone, well, I'm sorry, but Jerron Ennis isn't Terrence Crawford. Before I ever got to welterweight, I was considered by many the best fighter pound for pound, no worse than second or third in the world. I was the undisputed 140-pound champion. I was the WBO and lineal champion at lightweight. I was a 2-division lineal champion, undisputed champion, top 3 pound for pound fighter. Jerron Ennis is none of those things. He's never beaten a world champion. He got his first belt now via, Bud being stripped, right? So he's never actually beaten a world champion in a world title fight. So that would have been even more for Terrence to mention. But Terrence's point is fair. Different point in my career. I want to fight big pay-per-view fights. I'm 35. And he didn't say this, but I'll say it for him. Business is done at welterweight. I'm undisputed, and I beat Errol Spence in the super fight in one of the best performances in boxing history. What am I going to fight Jerron for? To make you happy? Long-haired, hippie guy, as Taco King 123 would say? So, no, I want to fight Canelo. Totally fair enough. Totally fair enough. I just had to have closure, chat. We got to have closure, right? I had to have closure. I had to ask the man to his face, and now, fair enough, Terrence. Fair enough. Fair enough. My only point was, if you're gonna stick around welterweight, if you're not gonna wind up going to 54 for the Spence fight, and if Canelo's not interested in you at 68, then fight Boots at 47. And my point still remains: Boots and Bud isn't just the best fight at 147. It's one of the best fights pound for pound in all of boxing. But Boots isn't Bud being frozen out by Spence. Everybody wanted to see that fight. That was a big pay-per-view fight, and Bud was already an undisputed pound-for-pound type champion. Boots is none of those things. So it's not the same. It's not quite the same. It's a little the same. But it's not quite the same. So now if it was up to me and I was the dictator of boxing, then yes, I would make Boots and Bud fight at 47 for my own pleasure. But I get it. It's not a duck by Terence Crawford. It's just a great fight I would have loved to have seen and will probably never see. It's not the first and it's not the last time that's the case in boxing. So on that note, chat, our final vote, we had 1,014 votes, and 60% have Benavidez, 40% have Andrade. So not a lopsided poll at all. 60-40 Benavidez. That sounds about right. So I think that's pretty fair to both guys. If there's anything else you guys... Edwin Ola says, Sean, are you going to be on tonight? I plan on it. I plan on taking my little backup webcam, putting it right here on the laptop in the post-fight. See, I'm live on the laptop right here. This is how I read your comments. And yes, I plan on going live and saying, like I always do, I told you so. But if Andrade does win, I'll be ready to give Andrade his props, eat some crow for Benavidez. But yeah, if Benavidez wins tonight, I'll have finished with an O on my record for picking the big pay-per-view fights. We pick to recap, picked Benavidez over Plant, picked Tank over Ryan, picked Haney over Lomachenko. That was a close one. Picked T.O. over Josh Taylor. That was an upset. Picked Crawford over Spence via counterpunching. That's exactly what happened. Picked Canelo to beat Charlo. And now we're picking... picked Fury to beat Ngannou, but he may have actually lost that fight. But hey, he got the win, so And now Benavidez Andrade. I got Benavidez. So that's the real storyline here, chat. Yeah, Andrade's 35 and is finally getting his opportunity. Yeah, Benavidez is knocking on the door, the biggest fight in boxing against Canelo. But the real major storyline is, can Sean Z, can your man, your boy, finish undefeated this year in picking big fights? That is the real storyline, chat. So, all right, we have to check back on Taco King. I have to scroll way up to see if he did eventually connect with an insult. Let's see, chat. I'm looking. Taco King, where is it? It's okay. All right, we're looking, and it never came. Chat. He struck out. He lost. Oh no. Wait. One more. Wait. I think I saw it somewhere. What's up, Malcolm X Box? I loved you, brother. Thank you for the support always, man. All you guys like Malcolm X, Glenn Chaos, Weedy Gonzalez, all my guys. Taco King. All right, here's Taco King's last shot. You're a Yankees fan and a Niners fan. What are you besides confused? I'll confuse you even more. I like the Dolphins too. I had to get. They had the cleanest uniforms in NFL history. Chat, am I wrong? Come on, chat. Put some fire emojis in the chat. I had to cop this while I was in Miami for the Raider game. I had to. So I hope you are further confused, Taco King. That was it. That was strike 3, though. But thank you. Actually, thank you, Taco King, because I secretly wanted to flex that Dan Marino jersey I bought. So thank you a lot. All right. I got a super chat from Keep It Moving. I got a super chat I missed earlier too. Let me make sure I get to that. Where is it? Okay. Mark Contreras. Always good to see you, brother. Thank you for coming by. Change of thought on Shakur and Tank, or is he hurt? Change of thought. I never, if you recall, Mark, when it comes to those big three, Haney, Davis, Shakur, I never penciled in one over the others. I've tended to favor Haney over the other two. Then after the last couple fights, I went back and re-examined some tape, and I noticed that Shakur and Tank were a little bit more efficient and accurate than Devin, but I still maintain Devin's bigger than them and throws more punches than them, and he's longer than them. And I've maintained that the higher the weight a fight with Haney goes for Tank or Shakur, the more it favors Haney. The lower the weight, the more it favors them. If Haney's going to suck down to 35, that benefits Shakur and Tank. At 140, it favors Devin a little bit more, and if Devin ever got them up at 47, it would be an advantage for him, a significant advantage for him, because those guys at 5'5", 5'6", 5'7", Devin's 5'9", long arms, he's going to grow into the higher weights better than they are. So I think Devin, he'd be wise. Like he's flip-flopping on a little bit, though, because he said this week, the only fight at 35 that makes sense is Tank. Don't do that, Devin. Stay at 40, and those fights, they have to come to 40 eventually. Stay where you're comfortable. But in regards to a change of thought on Shakur and Tank, it made me consider Tank the favorite against Shakur, whereas before I thought it was 50-50. I still think Shakur has the better jab than Tank, but the way Shakur in 2 fights against punchers with Nakatia and De Los Santos was uncomfortable, visibly uncomfortable against guys with power. That's an issue against the power of Tank Davis, who I think is a better athlete than Shakur too. Shakur has a better vision defensively and has a better jab, but Tank has underrated defense and skills, and he's a better athlete. I think he might be a touch faster than Haney and Shakur, and he's definitely the best puncher out of the 3. So I think based on what I saw from Tank against Ryan and Shakur against De Los Santos, I think Tank is a favorite right now. But you got to see it. It's not like I don't feel about. I said this on the last stream. I don't feel about the young guys, Tank, T.O., Shakur, and Devin, the way I did about Crawford Spence, where it's like, nah, I know Crawford's going to win this fight. I don't know who wins out of those 4. They got to fight each other. They got to get to that. And there's not enough urgency between the 4 of them to face each other. And that's not really an opinion. That's a fact, because none of them have faced each other. So the sport is on their shoulders now. Those 4 guys, among others, but really those 4 guys, T.O., Tank, and Haney and them, it's on them. They got to get it done. They got to carry the sport on their back. It's about that time. Terrence is getting older. Canelo and Benavidez will be a super fight. I think it's going to happen. But when the smoke really starts to settle from Canelo Benavidez, it's really like you guys really are center stage. You already are kind of center stage. So it's on them. If they really want to be the 4 kings like Leonard, Duran, Hearns, and Hagler were, you got to fight each other. And, youth is on their side, but it's for example, T.O. and Devin, it's about that time. It's about that time. Could you build it up and delay it that much more and maybe it'll get even bigger? Yeah. But there's enough real fucking money and legacy on the table at 140 if Devin gets past Prograis to make it happen now. I really want that fight to happen as much as any fight in 2024. Devin and T.O., Canelo and Benavidez. I've given up on Bud and Boots. You saw my last hurrah on camera, chat. It was right there with Terrence walking through the Mandalay Bay. That's it. That's it. I'm not gonna die on that hill. I went on lives and said I'd love to see Bud and Boots. I tweeted about it. I asked Terrence about it. It is what it is. It's not gonna happen. I move on with life. So thank you, Mark Contreras, again. So let's see. But that's about it, man. That's about it. I do plan on going live after the fight. And other than that, man, you guys were fucking awesome today. Honestly, you guys have pumped me up today. Seeing over 1,000 people come in, there's still over 700 of you rocking with me. That's awesome. I really appreciate it from you guys. And a lot of love to everyone's way for their support. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Some of you run into me at the fights and come up to me, and you guys are wonderful for that. You make me feel like a somebody. So thank you, chat. And much love to everybody. And enjoy the fights tonight. It is a good card. I'll go Hector Garcia. Ergashev Matias will probably be the war of the night. Benavidez Andrade will be a good fight too. That'll be a war. I don't know what to expect for Jermall. Half of me is picking him to beat Benavidez hands down. The other half is saying, should he even be getting in a professional boxing ring? So we'll see. But it should be a good night of fights. It should be a good night of fights from starting at 5 all the way through, and that's not always the case. That's not always the case. So everyone enjoy. Much love, and thank you, everybody. Catch you later. Peace.